What's up, guys, and welcome to the Mineski Pro Gaming League. It's, of course, going to be a best of two that we have going on here between Rave and First Departure. They actually played a couple days ago, but they're going to be going at it again here on HeflaTV 1. I'm one of your casters. I am joined by Blackadder.
Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are in the world, ladies and gentlemen. And, well, as you mentioned, these two teams have matched up recently, but now we get the joy of seeing them again, don't we, Mike? And do you have any expectations going into this matchup, considering?
Well, Rave have access to Centaur, and they love the crap out of their Centaur, so I expect them to snap that one up. In the couple of times I've cast them before, it's always been Centaur Vengeful Spirit as an opener, so no reason to not go for that, I suppose.
I suppose that does give you a good amount of stun and control to a game to start out your draft, but just bringing up, whoa, there's a surprise.
Oh.
There's a big surprise. Okay, so Magnus Medusa. I was going to say, to start this off, I'm a bit surprised to see the Razor, but banning-wise, there's no ban on Terrorblade, and there's a ban on Lycan instead.
Yeah, that is a little bit weird. I mean, I have seen Rave run it once, I believe, and it was fairly effective, but I think that kind of pales in comparison to what Rave are going for right now. It seems like every single time I cast without Coucher, we see a Medusa, and he's been wanting to see one for so long. But Mag Medusa, Chrissy played a sick Magnus. Like, I know that player can play a Magnus. Medusa, I'm not too sure about. I have not seen Rave play Medusa. I've only seen Medusa played one time recently. So, yeah, this should be pretty interesting.
I think that might be putting it lightly. I mean, how often do we see a Medusa? Almost never. I mean, she requires a good amount of farm. She sure does have some early physical damage and can survive ganks with the Stone Gaze, but she needs too long to come in online for a lot of people, in all honesty. And how do you then mix this in? I suppose Magnus Medusa RP into Mystic Snake and can help set up a Stone Gaze, but I reckon when considering First Departure's lineup so far, an Elder Titan can put a wrench in the works for this combination quite easily with the Echo Stomp.
And plus the fact that already Medusa is not exactly the toughest hero in the game. If you amplify the damage with Natural Order, get a little bit of plus damage from the Spirit from Elder Titan, suddenly Medusa is going to be crumbling a lot quicker than she normally does. And that means she's going to need even more time in order to get really big than she ordinarily would. So Medusa is once again going to be those cases of, can you protect her long enough so that she could get online? And this game, it's not looking too great. Both Razor and Elder Titan are great against Medusa.
Indeed they are. What I'm going to wonder is if we're going to see some form of mana control coming out of First Departure. I mean, Invoker against Magnus, that can work out for the Invoker. A Quas Wex Invoker, that can drain away all that mana and mean Medusa doesn't have that mana shield to fall back on. Other options is, of course, the Lion. Anti-Mage comes to mind, considering we have seen it a fair amount in recent weeks, since the patch.
I think any of those options would be fantastic for First Departure, honestly. They are both two cores, and First Departure still need a couple of supports. As far as supports that do that similar thing, Lion's the only one that comes to mind that actually has an active mana drain. I guess you could go with Keeper of the Light, but probably not. Anyway, the First Departure would benefit so much from having mana drain. Both Mag and Medusa are so reliant on it, and they don't exactly have mana to spare either. Like, Magnus sometimes will, but First Departure gonna go instead with the Wisp. This could get very interesting indeed. It kind of eliminates the possibilities of some of those other heroes that we just mentioned, or at least makes them less appealing.
Indeed, and the Shadow Demon in terms for Rave here. Shadow Demon, preemptive pick, I reckon. This will be a deterrent to picking up Anti-Mage, because Shadow Demon versus Anti-Mage, the Shadow Demon tends to win early game. Just by disrupting the Anti-Mage and not allowing him to put those points into mana drain, or he'll get his own mana drained. But the Wisp. Now this Wisp, what is it going to be in combination with, in all honesty, and where do we go with this? I mean, you want something that can roam and gank with it. Ursa, CK, you get the idea. Just something that can, the IO can jump around with and just cause chaos and ganks aggressively. That's what we're looking for, but what do you reckon First Departure will opt for?
I'm hoping for Chaos Knight because I've seen one too many Wisp Tinies. I think I've had my fill for about another patch worth of time. So it seems like CK Tiny would be the strongest ways to go. Those fringe Wisp heroes, no one extremely strong comes to mind right here. Like, they're all going to be fine, but they all really pale in comparison to the Tiny, and somewhat lesser to the CK. But yeah, we'll see what they actually want to pick up as Rave. They do go for that Centaur rather late. And now this is going to push Mag into the mid-roll, where he's going to be facing up against Razor. It's not the worst for Mag, but these lanes from Rave are going to be kind of weird. I mean, Centaur and Mag, you rarely see them both in the same game, but they will kind of cooperate well together.
Indeed they will. Magnus sets up the big RP, then you've got Centaur to follow up and add another 2.5 seconds worth of stun duration. It can be a devastating combination if it's done right, but this is something that occurs to me right now. Could we potentially be looking at a solo safe lane Medusa, aggressive tri-lane Centaur, Magnus mid?
Well, I think it would... That's a possibility. It would, of course, depend on what First Departure decide as their last two heroes. Medusa versus Elder Titan is a workable lane for Medusa. Spirit spam is not that fun, but really you're going to have to deal with that anyway, so I think that is actually a possibility for Rave, assuming First Departure don't pick up something that changes the game completely, and it would be really hard to do that within their last two picks. Rave would probably want to get one more Disable to layer with Shadow Demon, but even if Shadow Demon Centaur Warrunner is just a dual lane without any third hero, that's pretty deadly. If you put him in a bubble and then walk up for the Hoof Stomp, that's a lot of damage.
That is, and of course, amplification, double edge as well. It really does all add up, but it will be a Shadow Shaman here for First Departure, so now they're getting their control. They're getting their push online. They've got a good amount with the Razor, as well as the Mass 7 Wards of the Shaman. I don't think they're going to go for any more push on, other than these two heroes, and now we're looking for some kind of team fighting carry. I mean, you'll then have your mid-Razor, you'll have Elton off lane, IO, Shadow Shaman, and something going to be on the safe lane, but what is it going to be? The CK? Sure, it's nice, but it doesn't have flash farm capability. PA actually gets banned out by Rave here, and I'm thinking Tiny might be the option here, but we do get a Legion Commander ban out of First Departure, which surprises me.
I guess they're expecting a support Centaur with Shadow Demon? Support Medusa? Next level tactics coming out from Rave? Or probably not, but I would not be surprised to see a Jakiro from them. Support Jakiro seems solid, but for First Departure, they actually got banned out Phantom Assassin, and as far as Wisp combinations, you could do a lot worse than Phantom Assassin. You could do a lot better at the same time, though, so this Wisp partner is still in the pool, and yeah, as much as I hate to say it, Tiny with these melee heroes up from Rave, he looks pretty good, especially with the Sand King last pick.
And it's actually a very solid trident coming out of Rave right there. Centaur, Shadow Demon, Sand King. It's something I've seen the Finstack do back at the Assembly last summer. It was a very powerful, aggressive tri-lane combination, and it just smashed everything with the control it brought. But the ball is now in First Departure's court. Where are they going to go with this?
Yeah, the Sand King Centaur Shadow Demon certainly is deadly, but there's also the possibility of them just having a super defensive lane, have Shadow Demon babysit Medusa, put her in a bubble or her aggressors in a bubble in case things get really hairy, and then have the Sand King do occasional ganking, but mostly just trying to go for the Blink Dagger. I would say either way, Blink Daggers on Rave are going to be of so much importance, and wow, we get to see Ricky. It looks like it will be a core Ricky as well, and this is actually pretty cool. The only time I've actually seen Ricky before was some pseudo off-lane roamer that was okay, but this should be very interesting indeed.
Well, the Ricky, if you think about it, natural diffusal blade carrier, can kill a Sand King pretty damn quickly, has that smoke cloud, same for Shadow Demon. Hell, all of these heroes are susceptible to ganks from a Ricky, especially the Medusa with that mana burn of a Diff Blade. But nonetheless, two very interesting drafts, very unorthodox, very refreshing.
You could say that again, but yeah, Ricky, and I've actually seen Ricky Wisp a long, long time ago. Like back when Wisp was just starting to gain popularity, just what 2, 3 years ago. Ricky Wisp was actually pretty devastating. You jump behind them and then you just start clawing their face in, and it worked pretty well. So I'm interested to see how well this Ricky can perform, and well, it's actually going to be played by Mikasa/Miracle. So this should be very interesting indeed. Other players on the first part side, we got Kai on the Shadow Demon, KS on the Razor. Lubby is going to be playing the Wisp, and that leaves Elder Titan already left his lane. It's going to be Dafa.
Indeed, and on the flip side of that coin, over for Rave, we've got NB on the Sand King, Chrissy on the Centaur. Over on the Magnus, we've got Ryor. How do you pronounce that, you reckon?
I don't know. We just call him Ryoyer.
Ryoria. Okay,
or
fair enough.
whatever we want to, really.
I'm going to call him Ryo just for my own sanity. Otherwise, I'm going to lose that one. Cast on the Shadow Demon, and finally Jo going to be handling Medusa. But this is the most important part of the cast. This is where I get to turn around and ask you, with these unorthodox, very uncommon drafts, who are you going to put your money on, Mike?
You know what? If I had money to spend on this game, I think I would put a slight bet onto First Departure. Again, I'm not too sure how well Ricky is going to perform, being a pretty much new hero in this game. That being said, Smokescreen is going to be absolutely freaking fantastic against Rave, and the Diffusal synergy is going to be amazing as well. So, First Departure, they have themselves a nice shell to protect the Ricky, but also they gave him a lot of aggressive capabilities with the Elder Titan amplification as well as the overcharge. So, it's going to be up to Rave to kind of overcome their three melee hero weakness and try to deal with this Ricky, but I think First Departure should have a slight edge overall.
Okay, fair enough. I can understand that. Myself, I'm going to put my money towards Rave. I like the idea of a Magnus against this. You consider they've got some very aggressive styles that they're going to be going up against. The Ricky wants to get in the enemy's face. The Elder Titan will want to get into the enemy's face. The IO will be wherever the Ricky is. You hit an RP onto that can turn a fight in a heartbeat. On top of that, you also have the Centaur, the Sand King, both of which have very powerful stuns, and this is before you even add the damage amplification of a Shadow Demon or the sheer right-click of a Medusa. I like the Rave lineup just for synergy. It's a harder lineup to pull off, though, mathematically and in the stress of a team fight.
Yeah, Rave,
but if they can perform...
Rave, they have a lot of AoE damage, as you said, with the RP epicenter and stuff like that, but they also have a lot of abilities to jump onto single targets and bring them down very quickly, especially off of the disruption from Shadow Demon. If you set up for a Burrow Strike early on, or a Hoof Stomp later on, or hell, even a Skewer, that could be devastating. And First Departure, they're not that tanky, especially, you know, Wisp, Ricky, Shadow Shaman are all very susceptible to that. So it's going to be Smokescreen playing the biggest role, I think. It's going to be crippling Rave when it lands correctly. Otherwise, they're just going to kill everyone from First Departure really quickly.
Because of that Smokescreen, I'm going to wonder how aggressive we're actually going to see the Magnus handled by Rio playing. Because if he plays very aggressively, he'll be the target for that Ricky to start on. Take that reverse polarity off the field. However, if he's the counter-initiator in this, the Sand King starts things off with the Centaur, and then in comes the RP to counter-initiate. That could be a complete reversal right there.
Yeah, that is potentially really dangerous for First Departure, and I'm actually... No. Okay, I thought my server just hiccuped. Apparently everyone's server just did that. Yeah. So it wasn't just me, that's good. Yeah, what was I going to say? The Sand King initiation, or Centaur initiation, is going to be really difficult for First Departure. Again, they're very soft. If Rave can get these Blink Daggers up on their melee heroes very fast, then First Departure are going to be in for a whole lot of trouble because, Wisp Shadow Shaman, they need a couple levels to get going. If they're caught under-leveled against a Sand King with the Blink Dagger or a Centaur with the Blink Dagger, if these two heroes get a really fantastic start, then First Departure, they don't have any ways of initiating, pretty much at all. So Rave are going to be pretty much determining every single fight, and when they have bulky frontliners, like the 3 strength heroes that they have, the fights that they start are going to be difficult for First Departure to respond to.
Well, if First Departure can respond correctly, that'll certainly be one hell of a show, but nonetheless, hopefully these server issues will settle down and we'll be able to get this show on the road, but there have been a few issues with servers lately. I mean, sort of feel bad for Cottle Guy. I mean, he had the worst I've seen in a while.
Yeah, that looked not fun. I didn't actually see, like, the whole thing. I actually didn't see much of it at all, but stories, and that's just like, if I was in that position, I would have just lost it so much earlier than he did.
Patience is everything.
You can only be patient for so long when you're dealing with a machine that you can't communicate with.
Very true. Then again, you and me have played Dota with Hefla, so we have some practice.
Oh, shots early in the day. Wow,
Early in the day? It's early? This is early?
For me, it's early.
Okay, for you it's early, not for me.
Damn time zones. Ruining esports all the time. Well, it looks like it's going to be, for now, Ninja Boogie setting up early on in the bottom lane. He does have boots level 1, and I like to see Sand Kings do that, so potentially he could get an early jump onto some first party heroes in the bottom lane, but without a third hero here, they could possibly run the risk of just getting outnumbered, and then despite their stun combination and damage, it just won't be enough. However, they're hiding this Roshan pit. They could catch someone, but not if it's an invisible Ricky.
The pings go out. They have a feeling something's here. I mean, the tether sort of gives it away a little bit, but they're just going to wait it out. I don't think they have any... Oh, they do have that active sentry, but I don't reckon they're going to be able to kill Miracle that easily. Sure, Miracle, only level 1 does have that poor man's, but here we go. They're actually going to try for this, I think. Then again, they're not dropping the sentry, so... just want the rune. Okay. I expect him maybe a little bit of a level 1 engagement there. I mean, they have 2 stuns, for Christ's sake. It's a very powerful combination. We've mentioned that. They had enough to kill a Ricky, and a Ricky doesn't have that blink strike anymore to get the hell out of dodge with the rework. And got to admit, I do like this new style of Ricky. It does encourage more aggression and the possibility for off-lane Ricky. In this case, though, it's going to be a safe lane Ricky. They're going to go straight onto Chrissy. The slows are there with the tether as well as the shackles. Going to buy some time, but Miracle just doesn't need to get involved right now. He's just going to walk around slow with the tether when he can. A couple of right clicks will probably come through here, but this is the strength of the Centaur. He has a very high base HP, 606. It's quite nice. But they're going to dive under the tower for this. Kai taking a lot of damage, and Chrissy just lurking in the tree line. This is actually really good play coming out of Chrissy. Dodging a few extras. He's got his tangos going. Kai hiding in the tree line still. Tether comes through, does destroy the trees, but Lubby might go down. One more right click, and the tower will finish it. And that's a first kill to the Dire. Make that a kill the way of Chrissy as well. First blood, way of the Centaur War Runner. That was a little bit confusing.
Is it too late to take my money off of First Departure? That was... I
Nope.
mean, I can understand the Ricky maintaining a safe distance from the Centaur for a little bit, but he didn't actually contribute any damage at all towards killing Centaur. If he hit him a couple times just when the Centaur was shackled, that would have been an easy Centaur kill, and it wouldn't be 2-0 in favor of Rave right now. But First Departure, they just, like... I don't know why you would do that. Like, why dive a Centaur? Why dive any hero that aggressively when you're level 1? Wisp has 0 armor. Shadow Shaman has 1 armor. These kills are not easy to take, especially up against a Centaur. So, First Departure kind of putting themselves at a handicap, but we'll see if they can overcome. My money's still riding on you guys. Please don't mess it up.
I'll be collecting after this one at this rate. Then again, I will point this out. Off the back of those 2 kills, that's already a level 3 on our Centaur of Chrissy here. He's got that powerful hoof stomp. He's got 2 levels up in double edge. He can literally shotgun someone down, either Lubby or Kai. Equally, he could try to go onto Miracle, but Ricky has a little bit more base health than the 2 supports, and of course, 6 more armor than, say, Kai on that Shadow Shaman. But nonetheless, as we stand right now, while the bot lane might be going quite heavily in favor of Chrissy, what's going on in that mid lane?
Well, it looks like it is going to be just pretty standard stuff, Razor versus Mag. It is going to be slightly favoring Razor, but actually getting a kill on the mag is very difficult, as whenever you static link him, he could, well, most of the time, just skewer out, assuming he has mana, but Yoru's going to be shockwaving and trying to bottle crow as soon as he get that online, so he should be fine to get a little bit of something in lane, but shutting down KS is going to be hard. Without the Sand King and Shadow Demon to rotate in, and it looks like they're not going to rotate in anytime soon, the Razor's going to have pretty much the time of his life, so he could build whatever it is he wants to build. And yeah, I was actually going to mention the armor thing back when Lubby and the rest of First Departure were trying to go for that, or no, when Centaur and Sand King were trying to, or thinking about going for a Miracle. The fact that they had only one sentry meant that going for that Ricky, whoa. Okay, good.
There's a lag, yeah.
Going to give me a lot of time to talk about this. The fact that the Rave side had 2 melee heroes and a sentry meant that they had to kill him within that burst combo, and even if they laid down the sentry, they wouldn't be able to kill him Observer Ward that was up on the high ground. So it was a good decision, I think, not to go for that Ricky, but and then First Departure decided to reciprocate that with a poor decision. So I guess Rave have to be feeling pretty good with where they are at right now, especially with Medusa up on top lane, getting poked and prodded a little bit, but she does have enough restoration to kind of weather this storm of the Elder Titan mana pool, which is almost dry.
And unfortunately, I have actually fully disconnected out of the game for some reason, so go for it, Mike.
Alright, so looks like everyone else from First Departure is going to beat Blackadder in the game race, and we should be getting this reconnected quite soon. Top lane Dafa, only 3-0. Definitely not doing as well as the others off-lane counterpart in the Centaur. And well, the buffs to Elder Titan certainly going to help him out in this case. He is going to be strapped for levels as cast. Not exactly the best hero to poke and prod. This is Shadow Demon, but yeah, you have 56 base damage. It's serviceable, especially if you get a little bit of help from Jo with potentially a bouncing snake. They're going to set up for the Elder Titan, actually. They actually can't do anything. The Sand King is nowhere near. So he's on full pulling duty. Just wants that level 3. Level 2 Sandstorm is going to mean that Ninja Boogie is going to be pretty much just AFK farming the jungle with Sandstorm. Pretty standard stuff from the Sand King.
Indeed, and that early Blink Dagger is what he's looking for. If he can get that early Blink, he's gold. And you've got to consider, how is the Centaur doing? He already has his Tranquils, and he's a good way of the way, 500 gold up already towards that Blink Dagger. And if Chrissy can get an early Blink Dagger, this could be all over but for the crying for First Departure. But as it stands on this bottom lane, Miracle, how is Miracle doing? He's got his boots as Medusa manages to get a kill on the Titan. How did...
Titan just getting a little bit over-aggressive, got a little bit too far, and then was surprised by the fact that Sand King is actually in this game.
Well, we do still have that threat of Kai rotating down. KS did come off that mid lane for a little bit. He did just get his bottle redelivered, so Haste Rune going to be working out in his favor. He's got components for his treads coming online, and he's going to try to force back Ryo a little bit in this middle lane. But I honestly don't think we're going to see a kill in this middle lane, not without some supports rotations in this case.
Yeah, I agree. I think the only chance for a kill is when Magnus gets level 6, and then that is very, very slim if that's going to happen at all. So both heroes are going to be farming up. Mag, of course, wants his Blink Dagger. Razor, I think you still get mech on Razor, but I don't know. He might want to go for something else. It seems like he's by far the best mech carrier on the team, so it seems like an appropriate item to get still.
I reckon we'll be seeing the mech on the Razor. I mean, there's a long shot we'll see it on Lubby, but that mechanism would be so late and delayed, it's not going to be worthwhile at all. Whereas you look on the flip side of this coin, for Rave, who do they have going for the mechanism? Technically, they could put it on the mag, very uncommon though. Who else could they put the mech on? But Chrissy, in the meantime, in a lot of trouble, does get shackled, but he's under the tower, and Mikasa, the Miracle, cannot jump for it, considering he's so low health himself.
Oh, Chrissy's going to walk right back in, try to bait them, but running straight into a smoke screen. What the hell is going on in this bottom lane? This is like just such a mess. Ricky could have just waited for level 6 and then tried to go for something, but Centaur kind of offering himself for free. I don't know. I guess he just expected to double edge faster than smokescreen.
I am not exactly sure. I'm guessing there might be some form of server lag, maybe some poor reaction times. I'm just unsure on this one. Since if you're that low, why would you ever walk in like that? That's something I'm not even sure about. So I'm just going to put it down to some server lag issues and maybe some problems with the server's response times. But Chaos, in the meantime, will go down in the mid lane to NB as well as Ryo, and at least that's going to help out the Magnus in the meantime.
Right, and at the same time, Shadow Demon was denying runes on the top lane, so Magnus going to get a nice little jump in power. Ninja Boogie, of course, making his rotation out. I believe the first time, or second time, Sand King actually has shown his face, and now he's going to go right back to jungling. And Sand King is usually going to be contributing 1 or 2 kills or assists very early on, sometimes more, in order to accelerate his farm. But if he could get this Blink Dagger off of... Whoa, I just disconnected it too.
Yeah, I'm still in, so...
Alright, well, if he
If...
could get his Blink Dagger pretty quickly off of that 1 kill and 1 assist, he's, I believe, sitting at 1,400 golds. I disconnected, so I don't really know, but he's sitting pretty close to the Blink Dagger, all things considered. So he should have that one up pretty quickly, and at that point, Rave, they still don't have any great responses, or First Departure rather, they don't have any great responses to a very early Blinking Sand King.
Well, if we get an early Blinking Sand King, I don't think First Departure will be able to fight into it at all easily. I mean, what do they have that can answer it? Maybe a good Hex reaction time coming out of Kai, but if you consider a Blink Initiation with an Epicenter, that's not really going to help much. The Epicenter will do so much damage to one of these heroes. It might be a bit of an effort in futility, and we get a little bit more problems with connections and disconnections, but we seem to be back underway for now. So, as it stands, 1-4 kill lead the way of Rave, and when we look at the graphs right now, we've got a bit of about 3,000 gold advantage the way of Rave, and maybe a 3,000 experience advantage as well. So the opportunity is there for Rave to start that death ball, start that potential snowball, but this is still going to be a very tall order, I reckon. Considering if you push too quickly into, say, a Razor as well as an Elder Titan, they will punish you for it. And there is proof of that, the Elder Titan being able to bring down that Shadow Demon.
That was actually a rotation from Miracle, which is not what you would be expecting if you're Rave. Like, maybe you expect Shadow Shaman and Wisp combination to be up here, but not the Riki. You expect him to be on the bottom lane for a very long time, and he ran into a very low health Shadow Demon. Now he's rotating in towards the middle lane, trying to get a pick off on the mag. It's gonna be a really awkward roaming stage for the Riki, but he does have that Blink Strike, and being able to drop 3 Blink Strikes on someone is actually quite a bit of damage. He's gonna open up with 1. But Smokescreen, not that imba, is going to mean that Magnus gets to escape. I would like to see the Riki try to roam a little bit more aggressively for the Sand King, but he didn't actually go in that area at all.
I'm just trying to reason some of the rotations coming through here. Since, as you mentioned, the Riki rotating this early without, say, a Diffusal Blade, that can be a bit detrimental. Sure, if he doesn't get a kill, it's a big waste of time, where he could be farming and trying to finish up a diff. I mean, he's got himself a poor man's shield. He's got some extra slippers of agility, so he's going to maybe complete a second Wraith Band, which I'm not too sure about, considering you would expect him to start saving money up for that diff. We do start to have those Blink Daggers come online. Specifically, NB has his on that Sand King. Do we have any other Blink Daggers near completion? Yes, we do. Chrissy, he's got 1,800 gold. He nearly has his one.
This is going to be very dangerous for First Departure. They haven't punished this Medusa at all. Like, literally, they haven't rotated anyone up there to do anything about that. So, Medusa's getting a free time, and with the Centaur and Sand King both getting Blink Daggers, as stopped as they may have been, which is not much, they are going to be able to contribute a lot. So, I can actually see Rave going for a very mid-game oriented play with this Medusa, and you don't really expect that, and it'll certainly catch First Departure off guard.
KS going to get initiated on with that Epicenter as well as Rayo. They have enough damage to bring down KS. The unfortunate combo misses, but they do land the RP. 1 Burrow Strike through. Can they finish KS off? No, they can't. They really cannot hang around. I mean, the downside was the Shockwave missed. If that Shockwave would have connected, that would have been an easy kill, but in comes Miracle on that Riki, and that will be a cleanup on the Magnus at least. And these kills going the way of Riki, going to be nice and beneficial, but again, I'm still looking for that early diff. You can get a diff played as early as 13 minutes, but sure, Miracle hasn't had the brilliant lane that you'd want for that. Then again, they could be looking for a kill on this bottom lane now. They're going to go onto Chrissy. They catch him with those long-range shackles. A couple of right-clicks will be more than enough, and it will be cleaned up by Kai on that Shadow Shaman.
They get the Centaur kill, which is all well and good, but right before the Centaur died, he purchased up a Blink Dagger, so it's actually not going to slow the Centaur down by too much, and First Departure, they're not going to know about this Blink Dagger either, so still getting these kills, getting Mag down, getting a Centaur down. Although it's great for First Departure, the real problem here is the Medusa and the fact that they're all still getting their important items, Rave. So First Departure's kills don't actually mean as much as they usually do, and that means they're going to have to play super defensively, I think, in the upcoming minutes. They're going to be very surprised that this Blink Dagger Sand King and the Blink Dagger Centaur, both of those heroes haven't shown their face yet.
Indeed, and when we see these Blink Daggers come into action, it could be a good few kills that we get off the first use of them. But while Blink Daggers are a big thing, How's Jo doing on that Medusa? You got to consider he already has his phase. He's gone for an Aquila. I'm reckoning we're going to be seeing a drum on him next. And this build, the aura carrying kind of build from a Medusa, gets her that early game small incremental item advantage, which can work quite nicely. And they're going to go on to Daffa on the Elder Titan, and he just cannot survive that level of damage. There is just too much burst on Chrissy and Jo combined with that Mystic Snake.
Yeah, that snake actually bounced, I believe, the last time on the Elder Titan, and Jo's range, or his positioning or aiming with that snake was actually pretty much on point in order to get that done. They're going to go for Mikasa or Miracle down the bottom lane. Sentry is dropped, and they're going to double edge the Riki up. Still very tanky because of all the armor, but he will still survive. Now they're going to turn things around. Ninja Boogie. Stampede is there. Miracle going to get that kill, but probably pay with his life. One more hit. He's at 13 HP. He will Blink Strike out, and Royer is going to try to skewer forward for a Shockwave. Miracle trying to hide. He'll get clipped with a Shockwave, and the same Shockwave will kill off the Shadow Demon as well. It's a double kill for the Mag, but here comes KS from the back. The Plasma Field will kill off Centaur. RP feet being forced out by the Mag in order to get himself out, but KS has a haste rune. I don't think Mag could escape from this one. Daffa's here in the area amplifying that damage. That's going to be a double kill for KS. Still the score is tied though, so overall equal number of heroes dying on either side.
And now we're going to get some good damage into that tier 1 tower, but the flip side of this coin, Jo has already taken the tier 1 on the top lane, and if he can keep farming up like this, he's going to be a big force to be reckoned with in this game. He already has a drum as well as an Aquila and a phase at 12 minutes in. What more could he want? He's actually going to come into this fight with the epicenter of MB there as well. Now comes the Stone Gaze. Could be a huge team fight going the way of Rave, but going to at least get some counter damage through with the Earth Splitter. Nowhere near enough to get any kills or finish anyone off though, and the kill advantage now swings the way of Rave.
Man, I love just using Stone Gaze as an offensive stun like that. You get the phase boost as well as the drums, and then the only thing you try to do is pop the ultimate and then run in front of the enemies, and then try to get that Stone Gaze off. And the enemies at that point are just like, oh god, I can't let Medusa get in front of me because I don't want to be stunned or turned into stone or whatever. So I actually really love it when Medusa players do this, and I think that's part of the reason why you get drums of Medusa, because the mobility is so good. Like, I wouldn't even be surprised to see a Yasha come up next from Jo, just to have a lot of movement speed on this hero, and, you know, keep your movement speed, have your movement speed keep you alive as opposed to just raw HP and mana.
I could understand a Yasha build. I mean, a Manta is a good item on her, and we're actually going to be seeing that kind of build with the Blade of Alacrity pickup. And the only other thing it could be is a diff, but diff Medusa really does not make a lot of sense in this case. I mean, there's nothing offensively that they really need to worry about and purge, per se.
Rave, they're smoked up on top lane, and they might run into a Riki, which is going to be unfortunate, although they have their smoke broken. They're going to blink forward, expecting someone else. Lovey is trapped in the trees, going to tether a long way out. The smoke actually, the dust actually does not clip onto Riki. They'll kill the Wisp, but Riki gets to live. It's a kill for Rave, so they're going to be pretty happy about that, but they don't get the hero that really mattered in the Riki. And Riki's actually still stalking a courier. He's going to turn around and think about going for cast, but this Riki actually doesn't have that much. He's forced into a BKB first. Extremely defensive build on the hero. He's still wanting to go for the Shadow Demon, but I don't think he's going to catch anyone here. There's a lot of first departure heroes in the area, but can they do anything with this?
I am unsure. They're going to have to push into a tier 2 if they really want anything, and they still need to worry about reverse polarity as well as the hoof stomp combo. That ability to lock down and damage all of the first departures lineup is not to be underestimated. Now we're going to get the initiation. They're going to go into Ryo. The stun comes through onto Mikasa. Earth Splitter though as well. Chrissy in a lot of trouble. They bring down the Mag as well as the Centaur, but now in comes Jo with that Stone Gaze, looking to deal what damage he can. One more right click will clean up. The Shadow Shaman as well as the Riki with one split shot. That's quite the nice set of kills going the way of Jo. But now this fight is hardly over. KS stealing damage. But in comes the epicenter, trying to bring down Lubby, but there's just nothing the Sand King can do in this case. It takes far too much damage with the presence of the Spirit as well of the Elder Titan. And at the end of the day, 3 for 2, the way of first departure.
First departure, they're really going to need these fights consistently. Like, KS is really big, and that's a pretty large factor for first departure, stealing about 100 damage and whip that Sand King into shape very easily. So a lot of this game is going to fall upon the Razor for first departure in order to make things happen. The smoke screen was pretty good, but Riki unfortunately being a little bit too over aggressive once again, trying to get in there with 0 HP, not a good time. And now Cass in the bottom lane is going to catch KS, skewer back into a hoof stomp from Chrissy. Double edge is there as well, or not quite yet, but I don't think they're going to get this kill regardless. Yes, they will. This catapult in the meantime killed off the tower, but it's death on the Razor, and I was just getting done finished saying how important that Razor was for first departure. They might even go for more as Kai is going to get hit with the Burrow Strike. The rest of the team right behind him. Blink forward from Royer now. Going to get that kill for Jo. This is 3 Blink Daggers on Rave, and still Jo is farming up a Storm. I don't know if first departure really have the right heroes, the right composition, the right playstyle in order to deal with this, because they need substantially different heroes in this game in order to stand up against this pressure.
Something to just ward off this triple Blink Dagger play is necessary, but what do they have at the end of the day? They've got a Riki and a Razor for 2 of their cores. The Elder Titan, sure, he can discourage some fights, but when you've got 3 daggers, just blink in and kill the guy. I mean, what can they do to answer this? I mean, first departure can try to get aggressive themselves, get a blink up on the Shadow Shaman, for example. But still, it's only 1 Blink Dagger. It'll get you in, it'll be able to CC 2 units, but Rave still have a distinct advantage at this point. Hell, they've even just invested in a gem and a smoke. So they want to fight more. They want to hunt and kill that Riki. And if they lock down that Riki, there's nothing Miracle can do.
I think it's safe to say that if Rave are on the offensive, then first departure are just going to crumble, pretty much no matter what. First departure, their only chance is to catch Rave off guard and try to pick someone off with the numbers advantage, have Rikimaru be the one jumping in and trying to scout out those heroes, and then hopefully relocate in someone else, maybe a Razor with the Wisp to come in. Try to use a relocate, because I don't think relocate has actually been used a single time, and try to use the mobility scouting that you get from the Riki. Otherwise, Rave, they're just going to keep rotating around like this. They're going to run into Kai and KS, and I think both of these heroes up on top lane are going to die, or maybe just one. Serpent Wards are going to be deployed trying to get the tower, but it's not going to happen for the Shadow Shaman. In fact, these wards are going to be farmed very quickly. Now the teleportation comes in, but instantly they're both down. Ninja Boogie saw that one coming from a mile away, prepped the epicenter. That's not the relocate I was really talking about.
No, you can't risk relocating like that, otherwise you'll just evaporate to the epicenter, and there's very little you can do. Sure, these heroes are all low, they're going to move back to regenerate up in the fountain, but at the end of the day, they got 3 kills, they got a full set of farm onto the Medusa of a set of mass Serpent Wards, and they defended their tier 1. 3 golden objectives right there, and they're still ready to fight. They want more. They didn't go back to regen, they just rotate to the mid lane. They're more than happy to fight at half health, it seems. Looking at Chrissy, he's got himself a Vanguard on the Centaur, so I'm thinking Crimson Guard, and a Crimson Guard could potentially ruin first departure here.
At the very least, it'll guarantee that everyone's taking pretty much no damage from these Serpent Wards. In fact, actually, yeah, they take no damage from the Serpent Wards, so Crimson Guard nullifying in an ultimate completely sounds like a pretty good deal to me. And Rave, they're not actually as far ahead as we're really making them out to be as far as the numbers show, but this is why numbers are not always the best tell of who's ahead, because Rave, they have the right amount of farm on the right number of people, and they have the right items off of that farm. So Razor Riki still doing pretty well in the gold department. BKB up on the Riki is certainly going to help him quite a bit at sustaining this damage, but I don't know, Rave just have all the initiative. They're calling every single shot in this game, and they are probably just going to constantly look for these kills until they are ready to go for high ground. They still have a lot of towers to take, and that's because Rave don't really have the best pushing, but Medusa's still getting farm as well, so even if this does get to a very super late game, Medusa's going to be fine.
Oh, I completely agree to that. If this goes super late, you bet on a Medusa. You never bet against Medusa past 45 minutes. It's a very, very rough thing to do, but at the end of the day, even if they don't have much in terms of pushing, they can take any team fight that they want with a reasonable degree of confidence. And that's all they need to do, really. And they're going to actually find Daffa. They're going to bring him back, stun him out, and dead Elder Titan. There's no way they can defend that one. And now they're fighting a defense with 1 hero less. This is a big problem. 1 hero down, sure, it doesn't sound like a lot, but it's the Titan. He brings this entire team for first departure together. The Stomp, the Earth Splitter, the Aura most of all. This is a very bad place for first departure to be in. And still, you've got Jo continuing to farm up, as well as they have all of that momentum behind them.
Smoke behind the tower. Chrissy going deep, looking for anyone he could find. There's going to be the dust onto Miracle. The stun lock is there, and Lubby is going to, a little bit too slowly, relocate out. So pretty much the Wisp is potentially dead. Yeah, the tower is down, and now the Wisp is very dead. Ninja Boogie is right outside waiting with the Burrow Strike. Maybe there's a tether to the north, Although Chrissy has a Blink Dagger, and everyone from Rave has a Blink Dagger, so Lovey, he's going to get away. Blink Dagger forward, and they're going to take out the Wisp. Now Kai also getting dropped very low. Double Hoof Stomp from Chrissy, and the Purge on KS. That's going to be the Shadow Shaman. Now KS being focused. Gets turned to stone as well. And he's still very tanky because the mech has a BKB to pop as well. Rave, they get warded away for now, but, I mean, they take so many kills off of that even though they didn't get the Razor, they're going to be fine with letting that hero go.
Indeed, just the number of casualties is starting to become far too much for First Departure to maintain this. I mean, they're just throwing bodies at the towers to try to defend them, and Rave are just coming in with effectively a surgical scalpel going, yep, we'll stun you, we will kill you, and sure, we won't get your tower, but we just killed 3 heroes and lost none. Advantage Rave, hands down.
Oh yeah, there is no arguing that First Departure are in an advantageous spot, let alone a good spot. The fact that they have 2 BKBs on Riki and Razor is certainly going to be very helpful, assuming they could get these BKBs off. It's not impossible to see Sand Kings or Centaurs catch BKB heroes off guard with their relatively fast stuns. And then, of course, whoever gets that stun off first, the second stun is going to follow, then the mag is going to follow. It's a lot of lockdown that is coming out from a range, and that's very hard to react against unless you're very, very quick with your reaction times and your fingers. So these BKBs, though they are helpful, it's not going to guarantee First Departure any sort of real safety.
No, it's not. And this is the big problem here. They've gone for BKBs, but Magnus does not care. At the end of the day, the Magnus does not care with his reverse polarity. And during that time, while they're all locked down, Jo is just going to rain in death. He's got a Manta on top of that drum and the Aquila. His right-click damage is 191 a hit. Sure, slightly reduced when he's got the split shot up, but the level of physical damage that can be output by Jo here, you can't underestimate it. You honestly can't. If he just sits there and spams out right-clicks while they're all locked down, they may all be dead before the reverse polarity ends. That's how powerful this Medusa has been in this game. And this draft has worked out incredibly well for Rave. I've got to say, I do like this draft, and it's honestly enjoyable to watch.
Oh yeah, very refreshing, as we said before. And yeah, despite the fact that Medusa's damage is going to be hindered slightly by Split Shot, the Empower from Mag on Medusa is pretty legit. Like, you don't get any cleave or anything like that, which would be hilarious to think about, but still, plus 60 damage on a hero very quickly is going to be pretty nice. And outside of that RP to lock people down, they also have Cast's Purge, and well, they're going to catch KS first of all. The Stomp is going to bail him out, though. Now he pops BKB. Eye of the Storm is up as well. He gets Demonic Purge, so he can't really chase whoever he wants to. Jo also with the Stone Gaze, going to try to freeze KS, and he will be successful in doing so. Lots of right-click damage. Now Chrissy's going to jump forward, but he will miss the Stomp. Now Serpent Wards are deployed. Epicenter going to come in onto Kai, going to kill him off very quickly. Everyone else from Rave pretty healthy as they're going to reinitiate. Mikasa jumping in onto Chrissy. He's dropping pretty low. The Shockwave is going to fly. Won't do much of anything. They're going to tear to shreds the Shadow Demon. Now they're trying to go for more. Jo going to try to TP out of here. Stomp is going to not hit, but Medusa's going to go down regardless. Well, First Departure, they finally take a decent enough fight. And Rave, they maybe shouldn't RP just one person, especially not the Razor. Really, it was that Stomp from the Elder Titan that made that fight happen for First Departure.
Not only that, but you did see the Crimson Guard used by Rave. KS, his Eye of the Storm didn't really do anything when that Crimson Guard was up, but just the ability to set up with the rest of the team. Daffer, beautiful Echo Storm. That was more than enough at the end of the day. Now, they're going to rotate up. They're going to look for an objective off the back of the set of kills. They want to get this top tier 2, but that's going to be a very hard one should any defense come for this. But it seems like Rave are just going to let this fall. They're content to defend at the tier 3 should they need to. I mean, this is going to be at least a nice burst of gold coming out for First Departure. And what do First Departure have coming up items-wise? They're going to have a Sanjin Yasha coming up for Miracle in a short order. Lubby, what's he got? Not much. He's still playing that full support role. And honestly, what could he honestly get next? Arcanes, I think, would help him out tenfold, would help him feed mana into whoever he's tethered to, and just keep the aggression going. And that's what you really want the Wisp there for, to keep momentum, to keep aggression flowing, and just keep the game rolling. But what else do we have? I mean, there has to be more here for First Departure. It doesn't feel like they have enough in terms of itemization yet.
A Force Staff on the Shadow Shaman is certainly going to help a lot. It'll give them a way to initiate a fight, because as I said before, Rave have been starting every single fight. It's been on their terms. A 4-staff into a Hex isn't the best way of starting the fight. Like, you would rather prefer to have a Blink Dagger because it's just faster, has a larger range, stuff like that. But it's serviceable. So First Departure at that point can start fights, and if a Shadow Shaman is hunting on his own and runs into one hero, suddenly Ricky as well as Wisp teleport in, and things get much better. But Ricky's going to run straight into Boogie. Gem is there, and Ricky is going to bail. Okay, they probably could have gone for that Rave, but deciding instead to let Ricky go, they're still in the area. Stampede going to catch Ricky as he does pop up the BKB up on top side. Going to try to go for Chrissy. This is a very tough kill to take. Ninja Boogie as well will just pop out the Sandstorm, forcing out the smoke, and now Miracle probably can't get a kill on either of these heroes. The Centaur with the Crimson Guard is so tanky. Miracle's going to burn his last Blink charge, and Wisp's coming in as well as the Razor. This might be enough to kill off the Centaur. He's going to get tethered up, and Ninja Boogie, I don't know what happened to his Blink Dagger after that Epicenter, but he wasted it in the trees, forced to teleport out. That's actually a pretty nice win First Departure, all things considered, even though they do use 2 BKB charges.
Still, at the end of the day, that's quite the nice trade. They kill the Centaur, one of the cores for Rave. It does work out quite nicely, but this is something that I consider right now. I didn't see anything hit the Sand King, so I'm not sure why he didn't blink with that Epi. Maybe he saw the rotation of the Razor come in and decided, no, I can't go in for this, I can't risk it, which would make some sense considering they had a 3-man rotation towards that top lane to help the Ricky out, but it's still a very tenuous fight. It was one that I didn't expect them to go for. Sure, if they could have burst down the Ricky alone, fine, go for it, get the hell out of there after that. But when they realized the Ricky popped his BKB, surely the idea that, oh, he's buying time, he must have friends nearby, considering the Ricky didn't turn and run. So why didn't they just TP out off the back of that? The Ricky can't stop these TPs.
I have no idea, especially with the Wisp on the field. Like, you can count on that hero with someone else coming in, and, well, 2v1 sounds good, but suddenly 3v2 doesn't sound as good. So, First Departure, they are still behind in this game. Not by that much in golden experience, and the items and farm allocation not working for them either. But they're still finding these pretty nice catches onto Rave, and Rave, they, again, are still fine with this happening because they do have a Medusa who is still happily farming away. Ultimate Orb on her could be any of the Ultimate Orb items. Quite frankly, they're all great on Medusa, so it doesn't really matter what he wants to pick up next. But Rave, they're still getting quite a bit of farm. Centaur and Sand King's damage output is going to fall off eventually, but not really by a huge amount. So Rave still are in a pretty good position, and First Departure, they have to keep applying this pressure. Maybe start getting those initiations in with the Shadow Shaman to try to make something happen.
Maybe, yes. And when you say it could be any of the Ultimate Orb items, I have a sneaking suspicion. Something in my gut tells me a Skadi could be coming out here. It would help slow down KS, it would reduce the potential damage of the Ricky, as well as increase his own effective health. I quite like that idea. We look for the skew in from Rio, but cannot quite manage to find it. Mass Serpent Wards are still up, as well as this Eye of the Storm ultimate, and it's burning down the tower very quickly. They need a way to answer this, a way to respond, and they're waiting for that Blink Dagger Skewer combo, I think, or they just need to find a good reverse polarity. But that's a lot harder than you think, considering look how nice the concave was around that tier 2 tower. It was beautiful. No way could he catch any more than one hero per RP. At the end of the day, they walk away with a tier 2 tower at the cost of nothing.
It's a pretty risky move from First Departure to do that, but if they get away with it, if they keep their positioning really spread out, and then at that point, RP, it's very hard to land. The Burr Strike, you probably can't land on more than one person, and Centaur Hoof Stomp the exact same way. So First Departure just out-positioning Rave and use their small amount of pushing with the Razor Aghanims as well as Serpent Wards. I guess not really small amount, but use their pushing in order to take Rave at and keep them at arm's length at the same time. So very nice procedure from First Departure, but Miracle up on top lane might not be so happy about this overall. He's getting hoof stomped up. He does have a relocate out, dodging the Epicenter, in fact. They're going to potentially turn around and fight this. Yes, they are. Chaos is in the area. They're going to use this Wisp Ricky as bait, but Rave seem to know what's going on, and they will back off. Looks like everyone's going to survive from the top lane. By the way, guys, this is a 2-game series, so I don't know what Daily Dota 2 com is doing, but it's not a best of 3. Only 2 games.
Indeed, this is a league scenario for the MPGL, so best of 2. At the end of it, league standings will decide who advances, so ignore the bot for now.
Alright, so they're going to push up top lane. They saw that Epicenter was used. They had creeps in the area, so they're going to try to go for this one. Jo going to teleport to the front lines. A little bit of a risky move for the Dusa, but now with an Eye of Skadi, she is extremely tanky, and she will be able to do some serious damage that it's quite frankly, very difficult to run away from. Shadow Shaman wards, only level 1, unfortunately, but a skewer back onto KS. He's now going to pop the BKB along with Miracle and just try to go for everyone but Rave. They're going to disengage pretty well. Jayo's still on the front lines, doing a lot of damage to KS as well as Miracle. They're going to get turned to stone form, and it's going to do pretty much no damage. That double edge. Ninja Boogie now in an awkward position is going to get force tapped out, but Ricky can jump forward, kill off that Shadow Demon. Now a nice RP from Rave, but he's going to trade that RP for his life, and Rave, they have to run. They just simply don't have enough to withstand against this, and now their tier 3 tower is actually in quite a bit of trouble. I think we might have underestimated the power of natural order, because KS is not dying and he's doing a ton of damage. That's going to be ranged Raxes down. That might even be a complete set of Raxes. In fact, it will be. I did not expect this coming out from this game.
No, they had exactly what they needed to turn and fight this one. You consider what was the main element there that reduced all of that damage. They had the pipe. That pipe took away any form of effectiveness from, say, the Sand King, reduced Magnus down to, well, a neutered lamb, for lack of better terminology. That pipe did a lot to keep that pressure going, and even after a good RP, they were just so low from the Eye of the Storm that the Magnus couldn't deliver a skewer to force them further back, let alone not have the cooldown. At the end of the day, quite the opening forced there by First Departure, and you can see it on the gold graph. We're back down to a 0 mark. All of that momentum that Rave have been building for the last 30 minutes, gone. Same for Experience. It's rapidly reapproaching that 0 marker. In fact, it just made a massive jump as the graph updates, but still. Business as usual starting to develop for First Departure. They're getting the momentum behind them. They have that Razor with the Aghanims. He's going to be looking most likely for a refresher at some point, go for that double eye just to shred buildings, shred team fights. The benefit of the double eye of the Storm, that stacking negative armor onto heroes, it evaporates heroes quicker than, say, an Epicenter can when both of them are up.
This Razor's just being so disruptive for First Departure, surprisingly so. Like, ordinarily when you see a hero being skewered in like that, they're just screwed. But he turned around, popped the BKB, and Rave couldn't do anything about that. Medusa was caught in between Razor and the rest of her team, so she of course had split shot on, as Medusas normally do. So she was doing a lot of damage to everyone, but not enough damage to anyone to actually bring them down. And that's just going to mean that Razor is going to be sitting there with the Eye of the Storm, all of it being amplified by the Elder Titan aura. And suddenly Rave, though they do have answers to BKB, they don't really want to use it on just the Razor. That seems like an awfully huge waste. So they hold most of their big team fight ultimates, and Razor gets to run wild, and that means First Departure are going to take the Raxes, and now they're going to go for bottom lane as well. Things are slipping out of control for Rave.
Indeed they are, and this tier 2 tower is just the start of it. They might, considering they have all members of their team nearby, look for another tier 3. Be it mid, I reckon, considering how heavily far this is pushed up. And Rio, he's got to be very careful. If he gets initiated on and killed off before he can get a good RP, this could be game at this point. I mean, it's buybacks that really matter now. So does he have a buyback? The Magnus does not. He's missing it by 106 gold. That's a pretty damn big problem, considering. And then you've got a couple of other things to keep in mind here. Even if he hits that big RP, do they have what it takes to follow it up? If that pipe comes up, that's going to harm any form of team fight. If, say, they manage to get the BKBs off, that's going to completely destroy any momentum. Rave need to take a fight, and it has to be perfect.
And they could just choose to wait it out, but Razor and Ricky are getting now pretty big. Ricky has gone for a very survivability heavy build with the Sanjiasha as well as the BKB. The Elder Titan is going to be going for a BKB of his own. Razor now going to go for a heart. So these heroes are getting a lot more health than Rave are getting damage items. Medusa with the Eye of Skadi is great, but I think at this point she needs something that just gives her a lot of plus damage and try to focus down everyone at the same time, because she will survive for quite a long time. That's pretty much going to be happening, but is it worth focusing the Medusa at this point? For First Departure, I would say no.
I'm inclined to agree, and we do get some big items up that I'll quickly comment on before I come back to the Medusa. We get the refresher up for the Magnus. That is going to be a pretty damn catastrophic item in the next set of fights. If he can get 2 RPs off, it can wipe First Departure, but Miracle is starting to become very tanky himself. He just picked himself up a Skadi on the Ricky. So, as you say, very survivability heavy build. And I honestly expected, say, the Diffusal Blade or something to help burn down the Mana Shield of Jo, but not in this case. But coming back to the Medusa for a moment, you say a big heavy plus damage item. What would you prefer to see in that case? Would you want a crit into Daedalus? Would you want an MKB? Or dare I say a Divine Rapier, considering it's a Medusa? What would you prefer to see when it comes to heavy damage?
yes. Any of it. It doesn't even matter. Daedalus would be really nice. MKB, I think the differences between the two are going to be slim, so probably getting Daedalus is beneficial for Medusa, or, okay, Demon Edge, so it is going to be one of those items. Hopefully not the Divine Rapier. I don't think Rave are at that point just yet, but yeah, either way, Jo just needs to be able to focus people down, and the Riki eventually will be needing to do the same thing. But Eye of the Scotty Riki is like one of the most legit item builds in the world. The only reason why it's not seen that much is because it's so freaking expensive. Riki is going to get so much value out of this Eye of Scotty. He just needs to be able to stick on one target, and pretty much it's going to be difficult to do so because he's going to deal with disruptions and burrow strikes and blink daggers, force staves, all that bad stuff. But if he finds someone, then he could really quickly bring them down, especially if it's Jo. Jo's got to get out of here. There's nothing to interrupt this TP, fortunately for the Medusa.
And that's one of the most beneficial things there. If there was any form of interruption, that could have been the racks then and there. Killing the Medusa off would have been a massive thing. But my curiosity now stands of where is the next fight going to come through? Is it going to be on another tier 3, or are they going to fight around the Roche pit? Roshan is available. The big man could be the order of business here. But it seems they're going to try to force the bottom tier 3. In comes the blink in, but it's straight into the smoke cloud. They've got the stone gaze coming up, but can they get anything off the back of this one? The Earth Splitter comes through. It doesn't do anywhere near enough damage, and the Razor stuck in the enemy base trying to bring down Cast, but can't quite manage it without the help of the Wisp. And now we've got KS. They're going to try to turn around on him. Reverse Polarity 1 delivered. Looking for the second one. Second one does land as well on 3 heroes. That's a really damn good setup, and if they can burn down KS, that's going to be huge. But he's still standing for a good amount while longer. We'll finally go down just before he can escape the base, and now they're going to turn onto Miracle. Now they get the big team fight they're looking for. That's a 5-man team wipe the way of Rave. But what's the word I'm looking for? Objective are they going to get off the back of this one? It seems Roshan is going to be what Rave want.
Yeah, Roshan is probably going to be the easiest objective for Rave, and man, that was just such a huge team fight for them. First departure, they got, once again, a lot of value out of the smoke screen. In fact, twice. Well, first time, of course, everyone from Rave jumping straight into it. They have to run away from that. Second time, dropping it just onto Jo, forcing his movement away, so he wasn't firing throughout that whole RP. But that being said, Rave, they're still very tanky heroes, and if they land double RP onto 2 heroes, then on 3 heroes, it's going to be crippling for first departure. BKBs or not, you're going to be taking so much damage from Medusa, who was not touched. I mean, now that she actually does have a Demon Edge, she is doing some pretty sizable damage, and
there it is! Oh, we get the Rapier.
I said it was probably not at that point for Rave, and I still maintain that. This is, however, so awesome that I'm not going to complain.
Well, you've got to consider this. They have themselves the Aegis on her as well now, so that's going to give you some form of protection on the Rapier, and it's now up to first departure to realize, yeah, we need to kill Jo. But if they commit everything into Jo, they've got reverse polarity to contend with, they've got to go through a Sand King with an Epicenter and Blink Burrow Strike, as well as, on top of all of that, the Centaur. And he's just going to be there with that Hood Stomp.
Okay, this is going to be very interesting. First departure, though they do have an Observer Ward pretty deep into enemy territory, I don't believe that spotted out the fact that Medusa had this Rapier. And you don't expect a Rapier at this point coming out from Rave. I mean, I certainly didn't. So, first departure, they should be caught pretty much by surprise. They don't have anyone who could jump in and assassinate the Medusa either. Maybe if they catch her all alone, then Riki as well as Overcharge and Eye of the Storm can bring her down. But that's quite a lot of things that have to go right in order to kill out this Medusa. So, Rave, they might get this kill on Miracle over here, but Jo is actually going to show his Divine Rapier off right now. So first departure, they know exactly what they're up against. I think it's time to fall back all the way to the tier 2s, maybe even the tier 3s, and just let this Medusa have as much space as she wants. Lubby is going to be left behind by the rest of his team, but he will be fine. Oh, yeah, he's going to be fine. Jo is going to just be moving down the lane. Really, he doesn't have to do anything else.
Indeed, and with that Rapier, I have a feeling we might be looking for a tier 3 push coming out of Rave. They have the Rapier, they have the Aegis. They need to make use of it. They've got a 5-minute window where they can deliver a catastrophic level of damage, and just look how quickly the tower falls. A team that didn't have much pushing power innately to their heroes has fixed that issue. But Mass TP's back, they want to defend against that Riki looking to poke and prod at the racks, so maybe they push down at that mid lane now. Just go for the tier 2s. Get the extra gold that they can before maybe committing to the high ground and looking for the tier 3s.
Actually, I don't know about that. I feel like normally it would be a good idea to take all the tier 2s, but when you're working with Divine Rapier Aegis, you want to make sure that you get value out of that Aegis, and you take 2 lives when you have your Rapier up. if they wait for too long, the Aegis is going to expire. So, going for all these tier 2s is going to be very quick, so they might be able to do all of that, in which case what I'm saying is not really going to have much relevance. But if they sit back for too long, this could severely punish Rave. This Medusa, she's tanky, she's not invulnerable. With the Aegis, she pretty much is invulnerable, so you might as well make something happen off of that. And it looks like the Order business is going to be smoking down to the bottom side. They have the gem. Do they have the gem? Yes, they do have this gem onto Centaur, and they're going to run potentially into this Razor. Oh, Razor, you should not be here. Force that forward. Burst Strike is going to land. Chain Stun is there as well. Chaos is going to get obliterated. Even Crimson Guard being used just for good measure. That's going to be Razor down, and everyone on Rave now on the bottom lane. First Archer have an opportunity to go to the other lanes and try to split push somewhat, though. So this is going to be most likely not a full-on push from Rave.
Rave need to, though. They've got 2 minutes left on the Aegis, and I was thinking to myself, if they can push high ground with the Aegis, they should be fine. But if they get to the high ground and the Aegis times out, they might hesitate. And that 1 minute of hesitation could be enough for the Elder Titan to set up. Sure, they've got 45 seconds until the Razor's back online, and they're not going to fight without the Razor, but what else is going to be happening? Daffer? Ooh, going to TP out. You got Ryo stalking them, though, with that Invis rune, and if he can find a good RP here, he can kill off these supports on his own fairly quickly as well.
Well, he's still looking, although his Invis rune going to timeout, so he's going to play it super cautiously. Had Chrissy kind of in the area, but definitely not close enough to contribute anything major. But the crucial thing right now is the fact that Rave, they aren't pushing anything. And if they bring down Medusa, then suddenly Ricky with the Divine Rapier, or Razor with a Divine Rapier, I think actually Razor with Divine is going to be a lot more terrifying than a Ricky. Rave, they're going to be under the gun, and they'll still have RP and Purge and Stone Gaze in order to try to deal with that Razor, but that's a truckload of damage that Rave would much rather not be facing up against. Miracle is going to be spotting both these heroes out. This is a pretty large opportunity to pick off the Aegis right now. Miracle is going to open up onto Rapier, but there's the Stampede, not going to get him out with the Shackles. Stomp forward from Chrissy, he's going to land onto 2, and it's going to blow them both up. Jayo is going to obliterate him. Now Miracle in the BKB is going to get chain stunned up. Jayo with the Divine Rapier not being touched once again. They need Razor to get a lot of stolen damage if they want to take this fight. Buyback from the Shadow Shaman. This tier 2 is going to be forfeit. And I think the tier 3 is going to be sieged as well. There is buyback on both Ricky as well as the Wisp. But is their buyback going to be worth it? They have to use it, though. Otherwise, their base is going to get destroyed.
They have to use it, and that entire fight just turned on a dime, all because of Cast with the Shadow Demon. He disrupted Ryo and the Magnus when he had hardly any health left, less than 100. And just being able to get that 1 RP off just made the game in their favor. Now we get the mass buybacks. Here we go. They go for the Hex onto Chrissy, forcing him back at least for now. But now we go with that long-range Shackles. But in comes the Epicenter, gets a good amount of damage across the board, but forces a couple of BKBs. The Earth Splits are going to fall as well, but it won't be enough to bring down NB. He's just been forced up to the high ground and is safe for now, but Miracle and the rest of them are now pushing up towards this mid lane. They need to try to find a pickoff or a kill of some description to really be able to push the high ground, but you've got to consider, Jayo still has that Rapier, now building towards a Butterfly. Hell, he's got the full Butterfly if you look at the Courier. So not only does he have a huge amount of health and damage, he also now has evasion to back himself up, as well as more attack speed. Jayo is becoming nigh invulnerable, unkillable, and a walking nuclear missile, for lack of better words.
And you never want to be too close to that one. So, first departure, they have to be able to kill off this Medusa without an MKB or without... Do they have any sheep sticks? They don't have any. So, without any of those items, Medusa is going to just be running wild. That being said, her Aegis has timed out. And Rave, they did not take the melee racks, so still the base of first departure is more or less intact. Medusa, though she is doing so much damage, though she is very tanky, if by some act of God first departure managed to bring her down, a Divine Rapier in the hands of first departure can just once again swing this game right back into, well, maybe not their favor, but it'll bring them into the realm of possibility of taking this game away from Rave. But if they keep this Medusa safe, if Medusa is always in the back lines, if she's not being focused pretty much as she has not been for the entire game, then it's going to be just easy cleanup for Rave. Have the tanky heroes run disruption and have Medusa shred people, because that's what she's good at. And it doesn't really matter who you are. Ricky has 20 armor. He got obliterated by this Medusa. Divine Rapier with Empower is a ton of bonus damage. Even though Empower doesn't actually amplify the Rapier at all, it's still just, 200 flat plus 400. It's not bad.
No, it's not. And still, how do you fight into this? That level of physical damage, not many heroes in the game can survive, and even if they try to, say, go ethereal, E-Blade, or Ghost Scepters, there's so much magic damage backing that up from Rave, that's not going to work either.
And if they do go for ethereal and stuff like that, then Medusa is going to not be able to kill them, but they're also not going to be able to kill the Medusa. So they need Ghost Scepters and MKBs and Sheep Sticks, and I'm pretty sure all of that just isn't in the budget for the Radiant team at this point. So I don't know what they can do about this. The longer they wait, the longer Medusa is going to have to make sure that she has buyback and even hell get a backup item for this Divine Rapier if she should lose it. So, you know, losing the Divine Rapier, replacing that with a Daedalus that's in her base is going to be pretty sweet for her. So, again, first departure, time is not on their side. It has not been on their side for the entire game. And right now they're trying to like split push top and trying to get pickoffs, but hell, I don't even know if that's going to be enough at this point. They have to make something decisive happen, but again, their lack of initiation is going to make that very difficult.
Well, they could wait for the next Roshan, and the big man does respawn just after it's checked by the Shadow Demons. They don't know about it yet, but if they go for Roshan and put another Aegis onto Jao's Juicer, that could be the right order of business here. What would you get rid of, though? I suppose you would need to upgrade into Travels and get rid of the TP, so you can safely still retreat if necessary. I mean, while they're split pushing the bottom and middle lanes, you do still have Miracle as well as Kai split pushing this top lane, ensuring that it's always going to be pushing in with a fair amount of force. But what can JO go for now? I mean, is it going to be the Travels as well as an Aegis again? Or are we going to see maybe a second DR or such?
Well, for right now, it's definitely going to be the Aegis. It's a pretty safe assumption there, as they do go into the Roshan pit. No real punishment coming out from first departure. They don't have Wisp Ricky, oh my god.
You'll
up
get
on
there
top
eventually.
lane, so they can't make that happen. Elder going to scout everything out, but it's a little bit too late because the Doctor is once again in. Dr. Aegis is in the house, and Medusa is going to be holding on to 3,400 gold on top of that. I think Travels is going to be the correct decision, or maybe even starting to build towards that replacement item for the Divine Rapier should things get really bad. Miracle, as well as the Shadow Shaman Kai, are doing their best up on top, but with everyone from Rave moving up there, they do have a gem still on the Centaur. If they catch anyone, it could be very disastrous, but they're playing this very, very sneakily. Miracle and Kai both are chilling in the trees. Unfortunately, now Miracle is more or less stuck.
Thing is, what can they really do up there? He's got to just TP out. I mean, he's going to the bottom lane, starting to farm up. Kai, sure, he's lurking. He has Mass Serpent Ward. They could go poke and prod at the tier 4s, but there's hardly any point in that. I mean, the tower will just clean up the wards quick enough on its own. And they're going to need the Mass Serpent Wards if they really want to take a team fight. I mean, the Mass Serpent Wards, you could technically ward trap the Sand King or the Shadow Demon, bring them down. I mean, the wards won't really necessarily do too much to Medusa, but at the end of the day, I still favor Rave heavily throughout this entire game. From the early game when we saw them with that explosive advantage that they started, it's... I can't even find the right word for it. It's staggering to watch this kind of advantage just grow. And they're going to find Lubby with that Blink, Burrow Strike, and they'll bring him down with one more right click. So the Wisp won't even be present for 55 seconds. Doesn't have a buyback. Pretty damn big thing.
Means no overcharge for anyone, and that's about it. I mean, the tether is going to be useful and everything. The first departure side is going to force some damage onto the tier 3s, but Jo is literally going to two-shot the Shadow Shaman, so that probably isn't a great course of action. Travels on the Medusa, making this very difficult. I was just about to propose the idea of first departure, perhaps trying to backdoor with the Serpent Wards and the Ricky relocate in with the Wisp overcharge. Maybe through top lane, take some tier 4s and try to force Rave off balance there. It'll be a time buying measure as Miracle is going to get spotted out. The gem is still up. They use 1 RP, but the stomp. Everyone shut the hell up. Miracle needs a little bit more space. Now the Earth Splitter is there. Pipe is up on first departure, but Medusa isn't. Where is she? She's coming in. Here she is. And now with the damage onto Miracle, is going to be forced to blink out. Second RP is there. KS is the only one caught, but I think he's going to go down. They're going to chase after Miracle at the exact same time. Burrow Strike is there. KS and Miracle both going to fall at almost the exact same time. There goes the Razor. Miracle with the cloud up is going to get a little bit more space, but it's not going to be obscure. RP, no, not RP, it's going to be Shockwave, and Jo is going to get a double kill off of that. There is crucially buyback on both the Ricky as well as the Razor, but Rave just took that fight so easily. They're going to fight the next one without double RP, but that's fine because Medusa still has a Divine Rapier.
Indeed. Now you're knocking on the doors and taking the racks. That's a pretty damn huge thing. Sure, buyback by the Razor, buyback by the Riki, but I don't think they're going to be able to take and successfully kill Jayo. I mean, getting the Rapier going to be huge, but they still got the Aegis for 2 minutes. That's going to be more than enough. And now we go looking for Miracle. However, he gets completely isolated and brought down by Jayo. He's now offline for a good 100 seconds. Now they're just going to keep going for Dafa. If they can get the Elder Titan as well, that's going to pretty much be all she wrote in this game. But they'll bring down Kai with one more blink, right click coming in from Rio. And now Jayo just once more. He's going to head back home, be the one to clean up KS, who did try to backdoor. Didn't quite expose the Ancient, but still, KS will fall. And a nice try. The sentiment was good, but wasn't enough at the end of the day, and that's a beyond godlike Jayo.
This Medusa is pretty much at the spot where you don't want to ever let Medusas get to. Like, this is the fearsome hero that it's the reason why people say, oh, why can't we pick Medusa in pro games? She's so good. It's because she never gets to this, but once she does, oh man, the damage is going to be the real deal. Rave, they only take one set of Raxes, and I say only because it seemed like with Razor and Riki both down, with Riki down, they could have just gone for the entirety of the first departure base. That being said, they're not done yet. Jayo still has the Aegis up for however long, and they're going to go right down to the bottom lane. Chrissy's going to meet up with them there, and no Riki, no Razor, no buyback. This is going to be a second set of Raxing. They're going to jump forward and go for Dafa. Force Staff is going to make him dodge Hoof Stomp. Now the BKB form is up, but Jayo is going to be sitting there and just right-clicking everyone, two-shotting Kai. The Shockwave's going to kill him off. Lubby, 1, 2, 3, 4 shots with a couple of illusions helping out. And really, Jayo is not been answered this entire game. He's been able to get as much farm as he could possibly want. Now he's going to get some illusions created of him. These tier 3, tier 4s are all gone, and the GG has been called.
Indeed, but of course, this is a best of 2, ladies and gentlemen. We've got another game between these 2 teams, and I'm looking forward to the next unorthodox draft that we see out of both of them.
Alright, so just a matter of time before this Ancient explodes, but yeah, one more game coming up. I really hope that we're going to be seeing something this weird. Riki, I think, was okay, but just the circumstances and the rest of the team not being able to kill off Jayo, that was really the crucial fault in First Departure's playstyle. Not sure if the Riki Wisp was actually relevant ever in this game, but I'm still down for seeing it again.
I reckon so as well. I mean, sure, there were some questionable things that happened in this game, like the circumstances surrounding the First Blood, but end of the day, it was an interesting drafting style, and it could have worked by all means. They just, as you said, did not address the problem, which was the Medusa. There should just be big red flashing warning lights around your screen. There is a Medusa free farming. Didn't work at the end of the day, though, but look forward to game number 2.
Maybe in the next patch we'll get those lights, but game number 2, guys, is going to be coming up very shortly. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with that in, well, as soon as the lobby's right back up.